Qualex Live.
Welcome to the monthly deep dive into the innovations shaping tomorrow.
The future starts now.
I always laugh when I see that intro. Hey, welcome to Qualex Live Moneyball 2.0 Super Bowl edition. Super Bowl 60 is this weekend, and today we're going to be diving deep into the intersection of elite performance and data-driven strategy. Whether it's the Moneyball 2.0 revolution, changing how the sports back offices operate, or how it's sports redefining how fans experience the stadium, we're going to explore what it truly means to be a protagonist, I'm putting that in air quotes, in the modern sports landscape. And our first guest today will be Lexi Floor, is the founder and CEO of Protagonist Apparel, I'm putting that in air quotes, and Blue Wave Creative. And then our second guest is Charlie Shin, Vice President of Analytics and Digital Innovation for the Indianapolis Colts. We'll be talking about the future of the fan and breaking barriers by moving beyond the gatekeepers for women in sports and tech. So let's get started. The future starts now. Hey everybody, I'm Gary Jackson. Welcome back to Qualex Live. Let me just say, our guest today is a powerhouse who bridges the gap between elite athletics and high-end tech design. Lexi Floor is a professional wide receiver with over a decade of experience in Women's Football Alliance, having suited up for the Washington Prodigy, the DC Divas, and also even representing Team USA. She's been phenomenal. And she's not just a playmaker on the field, she's an architect off of it. With a background in 3D animation and UX design, Lexi is the founder and the CEO of Protagonist Apparel. It's a brand built on work over talent mindset, specifically designed to empower female athletes to lead their own stories. I want you to please welcome to Qualex Live, the founder of Protagonist Apparel, Lexi Floor. By the way, I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you for that great introduction. That was awesome. I'm excited to be here, and I'm ready to talk about everything.
Well, let's go, this weekend is the Super Bowl. So one of the things I like to talk about is we're going to get into that. I want to get your thoughts about it from being a player on the field. But let's talk about that. You are a female tackle football player. How did you get into this, and do you feel like it's getting more spotlight, getting more focus?
Yeah, women's tackle football has been around for 30 plus years, and you wouldn't expect that for how much recognition it gets. Yeah, it's on par with rugby, women's rugby, right? Or even like soccer, but it doesn't really have a stage that those other sports have. So I think that it's starting to creep up into the viewpoint of some other people, and some, NFL players have started to spend some time in it and spend their money and try to get some teams started. But it really still has a long way to go. It's, 30 plus years, you'd expect it to be almost at the same level of men's pro, maybe not as far. They're making millions, and we still pay to play. So it's kind of like a semi-pro almost feel. Mm-hmm. We have to work in the day, and then we have practice at night, and then on the weekends we travel together. We take a bus sometimes, maybe sometimes not, if we don't have enough, money for the team.
Sure.
But, it is hard. I love football, and I love watching football in the Super Bowl, but it's hard to watch sometimes men's NFL and just see where we are versus where they are. It's almost like that baseball movie that I can't remember the name of, where the women are.
Oh, right. I know too.
A League of Our Own. Yeah.
Yeah, League of Our Own.
Like a League of Our Own, right? Almost like the replacements. We're trying to get our stuff together, and we're getting really good. There's a lot of really great women tackle football players. They're even getting into flag now. But, we still just don't have the same stage,
Why do you think? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Lex.
I just attribute that to it being dedicated a man's sport. For whatever reason. Maybe it's seen as really violent, or it's seen as really aggressive. Although that's hard to say. It's a little bit different than rugby, because rugby has the same style. You tackle, you're not wearing gear maybe, but I don't know. Do
you think it would be better internationally? Do you think it might play out better? Because women's rugby is so powerful overseas. Do you think if you had a London game team and How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, that might be the difference because rugby started, overseas. I don't think it started in America.
No.
And so maybe they are able to give another platform for women in other spaces. But as far as I know, I mean, it's dedicated men's sport. Even online, when I post something of me like playing or like routes or something, I always get comments or DMs of like, I could do it better, or you did this wrong, or let me show you how to do it. And I'm so sick of that.
Oh my
I
God. But
think
by the
that
way, they call you Sticky. Your nickname is Sticky. I've seen you pluck the football from anywhere, everywhere, right?
Yeah, I've been playing for 15 years now. I mean, I've on and off been playing other sports. Volleyball, I was on the triathlon team. I did the Junior Olympics in volleyball. That's kind of where I attribute being able to track the ball in the air and, forever. I played for so long. So that transition from volleyball is basically absolutely no contact to football,
Yeah.
which is full contact. That crossover, and then playing for 10 years. I played 2015 to 2025. I don't think I'm going to play this year, so that might be it.
But you know
But
what? I'm here to do this interview to get you to play. That was a whole secret plan
you
because
want
I
me to
need,
try hard. I love it. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
already missing it. Yeah.
right. So do you think that that also led to the creation of Protagonist Apparel, that you weren't finding the clothes that really allowed you to be the athlete that you wanted to be? Is that kind of where it came from?
Yeah, definitely. I started Protagonist Apparel as kind of like an extension of my retirement, if you could call it that. So I
I'm
wanted
putting
to
that in
give
quotes
back.
because you're not
I know,
retired.
right?
Got
Retirement.
it.
Yeah, maybe not.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I wanted to give back to that community in a way that meant something. So for sure, there are pain points and gaps in women's tackle football versus men's. Like we definitely need some kind of shoulder pads that have a different style of anatomy, than the men do, right? Especially for like the larger players, like the line and stuff. And our shoes, like you can't really wear soccer shoes because there's not a cleat in the front, and you can't modify the cleats or they're illegal. So we have to wear either lacrosse shoes, which there are women's lacrosse shoes, which is great, but women's tackle football shoes, they have that one cleat in the front. It's important, especially for wide receivers, but the anatomy of a male heel is longer. So I always have to either pad the heel or wear inserts or something. We're always making some kind of adjustments. So there's definitely a gap there, but
And
maybe
it,
eventually in the future I can help bridge that gap with some of the things I'm doing. I would love to make a cleat. Maybe in the future I can make some pads or something. But right now, Protagonist Apparel is geared more towards trying to get capital, or teams trying to make money, or teams that, even high school teams or junior high teams or whatever, who are trying to get money together, like fundraise.
yeah.
I've created an influencer program where they, even as individual athletes, can go create a code, and whoever buys money or buys an outfit or something with that code, they get a percentage back. So it's kind of like a fundraiser also for individual athletes and teams together
And
as a sport.
especially coming up, so is that another track that you're going? Is tackle football on the high school or middle school level? Is for women? Is that also coming up?
Yeah,
You're seeing that?
I'm kind of funneling more towards flag football. Flag football's sort
Okay.
of taking off. I'm kind of watching the NFL and what they're doing with flag, and they've geared more towards like the games towards flag. I just watched that yesterday,
Yeah,
and
and it's
they're
hybrid as well
investing.
because it doesn't matter if you're male or female on the flag. Is
Mhm.
that correct?
There are some co-ed teams, but they
Hmm.
have split like the USA teams into men's and women's.
Oh,
So, but they're, I mean, I went and played for the Nationals in January just a couple weeks ago, and you can see all the USA team players there, and they have their own special teams. I think it's USA, or it's not
hmm,
USA, it's ASU is what their
yeah,
name
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. Right, right,
But
right. Hmm.
but yeah, we play them, and
ASU.
I mean,
Right,
yeah, it's getting huge, and especially in
right.
the last like 2 or 3 years, it's just exploded. So I'm starting to create like flags. I have flags now, and like all the little flag gear, like the sleeves and sunglasses and stuff like that. So that's the
But
direction that I'm going at. Not intentional, but
yeah, and
that's where I'm
also
headed.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I know your style is. I've always loved your style. We've been friends for, I guess, what, 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure not only do you make it that it works, it also has to look good. Like how do you blend it looking kind of debonair? I've never used that word ever, and I don't think. Plus, tactical, and it works. How do you blend those two together?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest sounding board is my wife, Tab. So
Right,
every time I bring something to her, I'm like, is this cool or is it not? Like, is this,
right.
because I've been in it, right? Like, if I'm creating something, I'm designing or drawing something, I've been in it for so long, I've been looking at it for hours. So sometimes it's a good idea to get some fresh eyes on the design. But I usually wear it and test it out, or I'll give it to some of my teammates and see if they like it. But yeah, it takes a long time for a piece of clothing to actually make it into the store.
Have you ever been heartbroken where you're like, oh, this looks so good, and then you put it on, and you're like, ugh, it doesn't feel
All the
right.
time. Yeah,
Really?
more than you think. Yeah.
God, that's got to be a heartbreaker too, because you're like, I thought it looks so good on the page, or whatever on the screen as you made it out, right?
Yeah,
So,
and sometimes that's even like the application of the actual drawing or whatever to the artwork. So like a direct to garment versus like screen printing and stuff. So I'm messing around with all of that and the different sizing and fittings and stuff. There's a lot that goes into a lot of emotional things that go into making all of the clothing.
right. Well, so as I alluded to in the beginning of this, the Super Bowl is this weekend, and you are a wide receiver. And as a wide receiver, I'm going to put that in quotes because it's not former, but anyhow, former wide receiver for the Washington Prodigy. When you watch the Super Bowl, what are the technical details or reads that you look at that me as a common watcher did not see? What do you? Because you're POV on the field. What do you look for?
Yeah, there are some streaming platforms that allow you to look at the different cameras and only look at one at a time. So there are cameras that look just top down on the field, and you can see the entire play with the receivers and the tight ends. You can see everyone on the field. Usually for the regular streaming public, they just show the quarterback maybe,
right,
and then they'll show like the end result of the route of the quarter or the receiver if they get past to. Right. So it's hard to tell. I mean, if I could just watch the receivers the whole time, I would, and watch their routes and how they get out of it and stuff. But
right.
Unless it's like, Travis Kelce and he's in the slot, we usually don't see the receivers. So if I can choose the camera, I watch it almost like game film, and I just watch everyone do whatever they're going to do. I watch their routes. I watch them, their moves and stuff, and I try to steal their moves or
so
copy
do you
them.
try to memorize? So are you trying to watch the play out and then try to create muscle memorization around it? Or how do you equate to watching to doing? That's always fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. If I can find the play online, I'll watch it in like ultra slow motion, and I'll look at their footwork, and then I'll try to figure out like, that was a good move. Maybe I should do like a triple step, or, so I'm always watching. I'm always trying to learn, because they're the pinnacle of everything, right? Like they are the top part of
the top
tackle football, So they're bringing in the most advanced levels of everything. So I'm always trying to watch them. But
go ahead.
Oh, I'm excited to watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah. By the way, I'm not so excited. I was a Broncos fan, so what are you gonna do? Yeah, I know, so close.
You're close.
So close. And by the way, probably someone's watching this 10 years in the future and they're like, what are you talking about? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So it's all good. So you are not just a, athlete. You're not just creating an apparel. We met because of your technology background and how I was working in technology, you were working in technology, and you've been in football for a decade here, or even longer, like tackle football. How does like this high stakes environment of like being professional in sports translate to running like a tech driven creative team? Because you're also the head of or co-founder for Blue Creative, which is an ad tech marketing company. How does being an athlete equate to running a tech company or startup?
I kind of have a well-rounded view of a business in a whole, right? So I'm coming into this business as someone who wanted to start something to help a community as an athlete. And then I also have the marketing and almost like predictive analytics and behavioral economics on the same side. So I'm looking at everything from, how, if I bring this to this community, how are they going to react if we have like a cleat? Are they going to be interested in the cleat, or do they have to wear a certain type of cleat? In the WNFC, they have to wear Adidas. So I'm looking at it as,
Is that a brand thing? It's a brand thing for Adidas.
Yeah,
right?
it's a brand thing. They have a partnership with Adidas, and so everything that they have is Adidas, and Rydell also. So knowing all that information and understanding how the ins and outs of that work, I can figure out, what's going to perform well and what's not. And that's probably the reason why I haven't made like a cleat yet, or like a shoulder pad yet or something, because I know that they get deals from that currently. So maybe in the future, that'll be something that I can create at a high level, and that'll be the deal that I make with the league. Who knows?
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, just creating what I feel like what people need, and also what people feel like they want. This is also kind of, and whether you want to believe it or not, it's performative, right? Like you go and you play a sport, but you want to look good to play good, or whatever that saying is. So I'm making accessories and things and different types of like mouth guards. I'm looking at mouth guards and like gloves and stuff. I'd love to make my own gloves in the future.
What about wearables? Why aren't you doing anything with metrics? I mean, we both come from a creative technology and analytics background. Have you thought about wearables or partnerships with Garmin? Or Garmin was created here in UT in Knoxville, where I am right now. So
yeah, I've looked at Garmin. I actually used to wear Garmin Whoop and the Hume, like HUME band.
Yeah.
And all of them kind of have this similar result as like an Apple Watch. I've kind of noticed that they're pretty accurate and pretty similar. It would be awesome if I could do some type of wearable that you could wear maybe like under your pads, something that's not going to get broken or knocked off or whatever.
Sure.
I've seen people wear like the vests, those high vests for like soccer and stuff that they put the little chip in the back.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that would be awesome. I mean, eventually that'll be something if not for the player, then maybe for the coach, so you can see where everyone was for a play, right? It'll be like in your iPad, and you can see how the play came out. You can see if a wide receiver got jammed and didn't get into their route. You don't have to watch film so hard. You can just flow back and forth and then key in on one person. I think about that all the time. And I'm sure that's what they do for soccer right now.
Yeah, and this episode is called Moneyball 2.0. How do you feel like, as you're doing analytics to predict teams and predict, what players go with what, do you feel like it's taking the magic away from the game, or should we get more analytics on the Moneyball aspect of it?
Yeah. I kind of have, women's tackle football is so elementary in the way of like analytics and data and technology right now. We just barely got the microphone in the helmet, so you can hear the coach talking to the quarterback on the sideline. But before it was you run back and forth, or you yell, or you have signals, and you just make it work. So I think I'm still getting used to that. It almost ruins the game for me, but if you can utilize AI and technology to play better chess, if it's like a chess game, then why not? They always say you don't play checkers, play chess in football.
Always.
So if you can utilize something, why not, if it's not deemed illegal? So
yes,
I say the more the better.
Right. And so one of the things that I was going to bring up a little earlier, during the summer when they had the championship game, it was probably the biggest, I think, Women's Football Alliance football game ever aired on ESPN. Is that correct? Over the summer?
Yeah, it was on ESPN, and it was nerve-wracking as a player. We got to play, and I'm still not over it. We lost.
I know. I was going to ask you about that. So I didn't. I was trying not to. How do you were so close? Like.
I know, and there were just a couple mistakes that I could see that that aided in my retirement. Like, maybe I'm not cut out for this emotionally anymore.
Why would you beat yourself? Now you got to go back and go kick their ass. You got to do it again.
I know.
Right?
Trust me. So, it was amazing. It was a great step for women's tackle football. Something that if you can watch it, and it can be streamed to a bunch of different locations, and then it can be something you watch later on again or later.
Yeah.
That's definitely the step forward that we needed in women's tackle football. Before, it was either you had to be there in person, or hopefully someone was streaming it live on YouTube. That's all you had. We're still very new to everything. So having it be streamed so people who may not have known about it could watch it if they accidentally flipped to it or they heard about it. Yeah. That was big. That was big for us.
Yeah, that was really big. And did you feel that put a lot of extra pressure on you because you knew that eyes were watching you? And
yeah.
You think so? Do you think it was mental? Was it mental?
When I first got there and I could see all the cameras, and they had the camera up top, there was a camera on our level, and then there was a camera on our sideline that was just getting the emotional responses of the players coming off the field. And at first it was like, oh my gosh, they can see everything. They can see if we're yelling at each other. They can see if we're upset. They can see if we throw our helmet, and the bench gets emotional. And usually that's your little space where you're not on the playing field, so you could be whatever you want at that time. You can be emotional. But that was the hardest part, I think, but then I got used to it. I ended up scoring 2 touchdowns, and by the second one I was like, we're ready for a third one, and I was just like doing whatever in the camera, whatever dances we were doing. So I got used to it pretty quick. So I could imagine the pro athletes are like, where's the camera? And they're actually looking for it when they score.
Yeah. And one thing that I want to say, just as a disclaimer, you and I have worked on several short films together too. You're an amazing film director, as well as all of these other things we've said. I think in my head that you may have toggled when you got on the field and you're like, what's the camera like? What was the angles? What, so you director side, you're like, no, I'm an athlete now. So I have to focus on the athlete part. So
yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, how fast can the shutter speed be if the lights aren't that bright? Like,
you're
fast.
like, so that's probably one of the things. You have to be all athlete. Well, I know I want more time with you. I miss hanging out with you, but I do have one final question. Super Bowl prediction. Who do you have winning the big game next week? And is there a particular player whose protagonist mindset you admire the most?
I usually get like really invested in quarterbacks when it comes to a team, and I love Drake May. So the Patriots have my backing, even though I don't really know. If you would have asked me at the beginning of the season who would be in the Super Bowl or even the playoffs, I would have given you completely different answers. This
I want to know.
season has blown my mind.
I know. Well, who'd you think?
I mean, I thought it was at least going to be the Eagles and someone else, or the 49ers. I had them high on my list.
Yeah. And the
or
Broncos
even
were so
like
close.
Kansas City.
The Broncos were so close.
I know. And I grew up in Utah, so the Broncos have a special place in my heart as just like the closest NFL team to Utah. But
I'm from Auburn, Alabama, so Bo Nix was my go-to. And my dad's name's Bo, so you can't get better than that. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah. Thanks.
But but yeah, I love the connection that Drake May has with Stephon Diggs, and I love Stephon Diggs as a player. I've heard that he has been in some shady stuff as a person, but we're just focusing on him as a player.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm rooting for them. I think that they have had a really great season and they deserve it. And he's a rookie, and he's kind of like, if you think of like the underdog protagonist mindset, it's definitely their quarterback.
Well, I will say this though, as you look at this, I am a little upset the Patriots are already back. You know what I mean? It's just like, really? How did they get back so fast?
I know, there wasn't long enough. And
it wasn't long enough. They need to be in the dungeon for a while,
He looks a little bit like Tom Brady too, which is crazy.
He does, yeah, which is kind of maybe he's a
PTSD.
Clone. Yeah, maybe, exactly. Lexi, I love every time we hang out. Looking forward to the next film that we make, and very excited about Protagonist Apparel, and very excited about your getting out of retirement. Just saying.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me here. I really appreciate it. It's always a good time to see you.
And we'll do it again very soon.
I'm here for it.
Love Lexi. That was an incredible look at the work over talent mindset and how Lexi is architecting the future of female athletic gear. Now, our next guest is focused on the macro level, designing the digital and data ecosystems that power an entire NFL franchise. Now we're going to be going to Charlie Shin, the Vice President of Analytics and Digital Innovation for the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, we're back. I'm Gary Jackson with Qualex Live. I'm very excited about our next guest, especially for Super Bowl weekend. You can't get better than this. I'm going to introduce Charlie Shin, the Vice President of Analytics and Digital Innovation for the Indianapolis Colts. Regardless if you love the Colts or not, you got to love Charlie Shin. He's got 20 years of experience at the intersection of sports, data, and technology. Charlie is a pioneer in using fan insights to drive business performance. And before joining the Colts in 2021, he spent 15 years, and that's where I first met him, as the Vice President of Strategy and Analytics for Major League Soccer, where he built the league's foundational CRM and data infrastructure. His deep expertise is further rooted in over 6 years as a senior business consultant at IBM and PwC. And he continues to shape basically the next generation of sports because he was a former adjunct faculty member at Columbia University and New York University. Today, he leads the Colts' efforts in digital marketing, technology innovation, and strategic planning, focusing on how data can bridge the gap between the stadium and the digital world. Charlie, thank you so much for being on here, and welcome to Qualex Live.
Gary, thanks for having me. It's excited.
By the way, so first off, just a person, how cold is it in Indianapolis right now?
Oh, it's pretty cold. I'm sure it's not just here, but big parts of the United States. It's gotten a lot of snow in the last couple of weeks. So
it's just It keeps getting colder, but it could have been worse. I mean, I love Chicago. I mean, I think that's where you were. Weren't you previously in Chicago when you were?
No, I was from East Coast, from New York, so I'm not. It's not too cold compared to where I was. So
got it. And by the way, what I have a lot of questions that I have to ask you, but as you could tell, I always kind of like shoot from the hip. What did you ever imagine when you were growing up and going to school that you would be doing analytics for sports teams, or was it always a passion? Sports and analytics was a passion. How did you find your way into this position?
If you speak with anyone in, I guess, kind of my generations, I don't think you've ever come out of, school, even in college, thinking about working in sports.
Right.
I don't think sports was even in the radar. Maybe as a professional athlete, which never even came close to.
Right.
But even from a business standpoint, never thought of sports at all from a business until, I kind of started working and realized, you know what, there are a lot of folks that are behind the scene to get them, in place. So
yeah,
there's definitely, never crossed my mind and when I was going to school about working in sports at all.
It's funny is I used to, I lived in Hong Kong and I had a lot of stand-up comedians I used to work with. And one of my stand-up comedians, when I was in Hong Kong, he used to say, you're either a doctor, a lawyer, or a disappointment when you talk to your parents.
Oh, yeah.
So when you were going to school, when you were explaining to your parents and after you got out and you started doing analytics for sports, where they're like, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah. It wasn't even about the roles, but it was about, hey, you either get into, like, I'm originally from South Korea, so you either go work for Samsung, work for LG, Hyundai, or SK, which is their top mobile company. So it was more about the companies versus like the roles within
the role. Right. The thing. But I mean, look at you now, though. NFL, Colts. And I knew you back in the day when I think we met through Chicago Fire is where we first met with some mutual friends there. How did you get into Major League Soccer? How did that play out?
So when I decided that I wanted to get into sports, obviously went back to school since I never worked in sports. I wanted to get a better understanding of what working in sports entailed. So went back to NYU to get my master's in business and sports. And then started to think about opportunities out in the market. And my passion for the sports was really around baseball and basketball. Growing up on New York Mets in '86 when they won the World Series, and then the Michael Jordan eras of basketball. So that was kind of my core sports that I really wanted to work for. But these organizations that I just mentioned were very established, and in terms of the opportunities that we're looking for, just didn't fit with what I wanted, or frankly, just wasn't a whole lot of openings or opportunities that existed out there. And then someone mentioned about Major League Soccer, and to be honest, I didn't even know what Major League Soccer was. And I was like, okay, there's a professional soccer league in the U.S. Did not know that. Although World Cup was the reason why I kind of got to think about working in sports. Then I started to look into the opportunity and about the organization. And what I quickly realized was that this was a very early stage when you're comparing with some of the other professional leagues.
Yeah, right.
And they lacked a lot of resource and expertise and professional background, because they were just trying to keep the lights on back then.
Right.
It was 2005. Had 10 teams that were out there, and the league operated in a very thin resource and budget, so they didn't even have a marketing department when I kind of looked into it. So I felt like, well, this could be a lot of great opportunity, because they're gonna want someone with some experience and background, and someone that could helped him, and also the fact there weren't a whole lot of people that were interested in working in Major League Soccer.
Correct. Yeah. Right.
So for me, it was like perfect. Sports. The reason I came to wanting to work in sports was soccer. There were a lot of opportunities because of less competitions in the market, and it was a very global, unique environment, meaning lot of people that were working in the organization came with a lot of diversity of backgrounds from France to Mexico to Argentina, Japan,
Spain, Italy.
Spain. Like it was like I tell everyone it was like a small United Nation in terms of representation, and that was because Don wanted to really create a culture that reflected the sports, which was global.
Right.
So that kind of led me to working there as an intern. It was kind of full circle because, as I mentioned, the World Cup was the reason I wanted to get into sports.
Yeah.
And when I started interning, it was 2006, and I actually worked on the World Cup because back then, MLS, which had a subsidiary, which was Soccer United Marketing, owned the rights to the broadcast of FIFA games in the United States. And we actually sold all the media commercials back then. And I was an intern that was managing all of the inventories for 30-second TV spots.
By the way, that sounds like a very, very stressful internship. Just saying. That sounds like, because you failed football or soccer in general.
Can you imagine having an intern finish the full 64 tournaments of their commercial spots? I mean, looking back now, that was wild.
That was wild.
Again,
actually,
that was the resource that they were working with.
Right. And so it's funny. You talked about the immaturity of Major League Soccer using data at that time. I guess it was focused mostly on sponsorship and selling tickets, or was that?
It's not being immature. It's just they just weren't ready, and it wasn't the priority for them at that stage of their life. And 2005 was making sure they just kept the lights on and operational in terms of the league. So this wasn't one of the top things. As I've mentioned, they didn't even have a marketing department within there. So it was all about sponsorships and leveraging sponsorships as a ways to promote the league. A lot of grassroots marketing. That's where the focus was. And when I was interning there, I had an opportunity to present a proposal in terms of how we could use CRM system and centralize it at the league to support the clubs better manage customer data and use that to help drive commercial business, whether it's ticket sales or merchandising or so on. So, that basically said, hey, this is great, but we don't have anyone who could do this. Can you come on board? And that's how I got hired as the
position. And was it a cultural shift for them too? Because I mean, they were doing things by the seat of their pants, and now you were like, well, the analytics says this.
I think culture shift? It wasn't so much of a culture. I think they just needed someone to help them guide through the process, and because they were open to ideas, and there were a lot of smart people within the organization. Again, it wasn't that they didn't want to do it; they just didn't know
where to start,
help and get them started. So, but again, even after I got hired, it took me another 3 years to get that off the ground, and working with Qualex to help us build out some of that infrastructures. Because again, there wasn't so much, a basic resource. So when I first joined as a first staff and marketing team, I needed to do the basic stuff like basic research, basic kind of marketing assets, and using the advertisements and all of that before even getting into the data space and using direct to consumer marketing capabilities
to make that work. And what's so funny now, now kind of as you've matured from. So basically you spent 15 years at Major League Soccer, which I want to get into how you feel now that the World Cup's coming. We're going to get into that next. But now you're joining the Colts. What's the biggest difference in managing a data strategy for an entire league versus a single NFL franchise?
Absolutely. It's, there are two biggest things that I've recognized when I made this shift. One was the complete difference in the maturity of the league, right?
Okay.
Where, as I've mentioned, MLS, even though they've seen such a great growth in last decades, and so in terms of where they are now with 30 teams, with multi international stars coming and playing, and majority of the stadiums getting sold out, and all of that is great and success. But still, when you compare that against leagues like NFL, where it had 100 years of history,
it's
not about and when you look at MLS, it's really about building more like new fans, because they have such a market, captive market that's been built over the years. It's really about just increasing that engagement and retaining a lot of the fan base, versus MLS still needs to build new fans, and there's a lot of efforts that goes into it. So there's a clear
basically new fans versus old fans, because NFL fans are diehard old fans, and then you build new fans for the MLS.
NFL still has a lot of young generation fans that are coming through, so it's not really new or old, meaning from an age standpoint. I think it's more of MLS needs more fans, period. NFL has a lot of fans. We just need to increase their consumption of NFL, right?
Got it.
And that's where we're expanding into international markets, is because like there is a little bit of saturation in the domestic market in terms of how much more we could grow. So there's a clear difference in strategy in terms of what we need to do, right? Building awareness is very different strategy than trying to increase the consumption and engagement with our existing fans. So that was very different. And then obviously the clear difference is working at the league is very different than working at the club level, right? The league is, I kind of explain it as, it's more of a B2B kind of B2B2C model. You're at the league, you're supporting the club who has the direct connection with the fans. So it's all about, how do we make our clubs better in terms of improving their relationship with individual fans, versus if you're in the club, you're in the front line. So everything that you do is all about your fans in your markets and so on. So those were some of the key differences that I recognize. And then the last thing is just a scale. NFL, such a scale from resource to investment to everything. I mean, the speed in terms of what we can do, and also the luxury of being able to be more willing to try out and take risk because of the foundation that's been built, versus the MLS, because of where they are. Unfortunately, you just tend to be more short-sighted because you need to keep, kind of balance from the losses to the profits, and just got to manage that P&L more. So
what's funny? What's funny is, as I was listening to you kind of explain this, it seems like that there's been like two people passing in the night. What I mean by that is that you had a lot of international stars coming over to the U.S. from overseas to play in MLS. Now NFL is like, you know what? We've saturated the U.S. market. Now we're going to go overseas and create that stardom over there. What a crazy overlap.
Yeah, you're right. EPL teams are trying to get into U.S. market because of the saturation that they might have. Same thing here. We trying to expand, and we do that by expanding the market, and that's for us the international market. So
I'm about to ask you.
That's the case for most of the mature the professional league here, right? MLB doing their global kind of World Series tours around, NBA investing in international games and going abroad, or even thinking about introducing new NBA leagues in international markets. So again, it's all about just expanding beyond your domestic market, versus like MLS. I think there's still a lot of things that they need to do. And also it's a very different, governing structure with FIFA and how it plays into each of the country related to that sports, versus there's not a whole lot of restrictions in terms of if NBA wants to go play a regular season in Europe, there's no one to stop them, right? You can't do that in terms of soccer. MLS can't take their regular season, or vice versa. You can have, Tottenham suddenly take their regular season and play within the U.S. markets because of the governance that exists within the FIFA.
Right. It's funny. I also think too. I'm going to ask you an impossible question, and I'm pretty sure you're going to answer it as a lawyer would. What is your favorite sport? Football or football? Or soccer?
So I love watching football, and I think American football, the NFL.
Right.
I think I've gotten into it, especially since I've been working here. But I do love participating in the soccer as a sport.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I used to play Sunday soccer before moving over here. Still looking to find a team here that I could play with, but it's such a great sports to be out on the field and just, all you need is a ball and you could just have a great time. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things I was also going to say, I've always wondered is, if we had the red flag, yellow flag in football, I think it would just be red flags constantly because, it's always tackles. And by the way, have you ever been pulled into the analytics around what the referees, because this year in the NFL, referees have had some difficult plays to make, and they made some good decisions and bad decisions. Is there talk about bringing in AI and having a human referee and an AI referee? What does that look like? Probably not.
I have no idea. It's not in my kind of purview
Good.
or
Okay.
areas. But I always tell people officiating is part of the game. Yes.
Right.
And I know
they are the next athlete, the other athlete, I guess you would say.
I mean, it's humans involved. So
right.
I'm not perfect. I don't think anyone's perfect. You're all going to make mistakes, especially when things are happening so fast. And, these slow motions make people go, how do they miss it? But in reality, it's happening like this. Of course they can miss it. But
of course,
a lot of these new technologies, I think, is helping evolve some of that. I mean, you can see that in soccer as well with the goal technologies that's been implemented in many of the countries now, and just how that continues to evolve is going to help. And I don't think it's going to completely replace it, but it's going to enhance the accuracy, hopefully continuously improve that. So
over time. Yeah. What's funny, we talked about just doing tradition, just trying to get the basics going for MLS as you were doing that. And now with the Colts, you're being able to do some innovative stuff. One of the things I was bringing up is you've spoken about the barriers for fans like childcare, work schedules. With the Colts, you've been creating kind of like new products like flex packs for fans who aren't traditional season holders. How has that been playing out for creating these kind of new, there's season ticket holders and then there's people who want to come to the game, but they can't. Have you been playing around with how do we sell tickets in a new way?
Sure. We don't do we don't do any flex packs. So that's not a product that we offer, but to your point, what we try to do is we try to rely on a lot of the research insights and feedbacks that we get from our fans to help shape some of the offerings that we want to put out there. And some of the things that we found over the years is just personal schedule challenges that comes across. And we live in a very busy life, right? Everyone has certain things that come up. And especially with NFL, when there's just a very small number of limited home games, if something comes up on the weekend and you can't attend, well, unfortunately, you're just not going to be able to go to the game.
Right.
And we see a lot of that happening, especially when you buy a season ticket and then when you actually know when the schedules come out, there's a gap. So people might go, hey, want a season ticket holder, you buy it. And then suddenly schedule goes out and goes, oh man, that's a graduation, or hey, that's a trip that we planned with someone, and you're like, what do I do now? So what we try to do was make sure that we remove that barrier from our fans who may come across these conflicts that may have caused them to think twice about purchasing a season ticket or renewing season tickets, by giving them ability to adjust once the schedule comes out after buying their season ticket. So we introduced a concept called buyback. And basically what it is that you're able to sell back the games that you no longer are able to attend. We do put a cap in terms of the number of quantities that you could sell back.
Right.
But it gives them a flexibility that, hey, you know what, even though I don't have the full schedule, I could still buy it now. And if something happens and when the schedule gets released, I do have the ability to sell this back to the team. So I'm not having to deal with trying to sell it in the markets or trying to
Yeah.
offload this or go to friend, all of that. So
Sure.
it has helped us quite a bit, because now, again, we're removing that barrier that someone might go, which has been one of the top reasons why someone didn't renew with us, was a schedule conflict. Or so we're again trying to come up with different ways to alleviate some of those pressure points that the fans might have in wanting to renew or purchase tickets.
Yeah. And how does the secondary market, does that ever play into any of your decisions too, like SeatGeek, Ticketmaster, resell?
Well, everyone has a ways to resell their tickets in a secondary market if they want to. But again, let's say you're talking to someone who's 45, 50-year-old person who has a season ticket.
Yeah.
Yes, they have the means to go and resell it, but that also in itself is a lot of efforts that you have.
It's a lot of effort.
Right?
And scamming, and you don't know if you're going to sell it.
Exactly. So, in those incidents, and a lot of people, this is for them, it's not about making additional dollars or anything. It's just, hey, I don't want to have to go through that hassle, right? So what we're doing is we're taking that kind of concerns that they might have and go, look, we'll pay you back the face value, what you paid for.
Yeah, so you get your money back. Yeah,
and you still maintain all the benefits as being a season ticket member, and you don't have to worry about the full conflicts that you might have on schedules.
Yeah, that's right. That's great. And so here's just kind of a personal question. Have you heard about what the ticket prices are for the Super Bowl? Have you heard that they've dropped a little bit in this next Super Bowl?
Yeah.
What is so first of all, I'm a Broncos fan. Love the Colts too, because my roommate from college, huge Colts fan. He was really pissed. I got to come see the training game. Thank you for inviting me and the Qualex team there. I got to see, but he got really pissed. I showed all the pictures that I was at the Colts, and he grew up with the Colts. But I am a Broncos fan. We didn't do very well, so I'm definitely not looking for tickets. But how are you seeing this? I've never seen the tickets drop. Has it become sad? I'm not going to get political, obviously, but is politics coming into play? Is it demand?
There's so many variables that impact pricing, and especially events like Super Bowl, where it's not your traditional demand, because there's so much, B2B side to it too. It's hard to account, or even, I'm sure someone's doing the analysis, but
sure.
I'm sure there's a lot of different variables and factors that plays into it.
Right. And one more thing I was going to say, as you work for this is just maybe selfish and personal, being that you work for an NFL team, do you get first dibs to get Super Bowl tickets?
Those are very
reserved,
managed strategically in terms of, one, how much it gets allocated to different teams, and then teams could decide how they leverage it. And it's a very high value commodity, and we try to make sure that we're leveraging it to maximize our opportunity with our clients and our customers. So,
by the way, I promise you, I wasn't trying to hey, if you get one on the side, let me know. I was just asking. And the future. So the future of, there was a lot of talk there for a while. I think when we first started working together around Major League Soccer, around virtual reality, basically boundary-less stadiums, how virtual reality is a way to sell tickets to fans outside and stuff. How do you see it? Is that still playing out, or is that getting played out, or is it being played into? How do you see that?
I still think there could be an opportunity. I think at the end of the day, it's about thinking of what is the value that we're trying to deliver to our fans through our games.
Right.
And it's looking into that. And, for live games, there are restrictions because of the capacity that each of our stadiums hold. So then the question is, how do we scale beyond what we're able to hold within the stadium to deliver value, and in exchange, have value for our side, which is monetary value. And those will be also dictated based on some of the guidelines that may exist due to certain rights of the broadcast and other elements. So it's not a simple question, but also just looking at different ways to approach, how we could expand beyond just in-game to deliver those values. And I think you're referring to an idea that we talked about in some of the cases, and actually one of the NBA teams, or I think it was the league, had a commercial with that concept where they were having a virtual reality kind of view of the game, courtside view, and you're watching it with your friend, but each of them are wearing this goggle
headset,
sitting at their home but watching the game. So look, I think those are all, from a technology standpoint, I think those are all possible.
Yeah.
But then it comes back to, all right, how that impacts the governance from a business standpoint, implications on some of the rights that broadcast has, the rights that the team might have in local markets.
Or impacting your ticket sales too.
Or impacting the ticket sales, right? So all of that could play into it. So those are some of the things I'm sure people will continuously talk about it and see how that could evolve. But I think technology is there.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I remember when I was in Colorado Springs, I was working with a team that was actually doing the first VR broadcast on the sidelines for NFL. And one of the biggest concerns they had was they were looking to pitch an NFL VR channel that you just watch all the time, but it directly impacted ticket sales, and that was a no-go for them.
And I, again, personally, I think there are niche markets for those, because when you look at the reasons, and I call it the jobs that people are trying to do by coming to a game, I don't think some of them is not going to be solvable by VR type of experience, when it's about wanting to be with similar minded people that are rooting for the same team, coming together and enjoying that kind of experience.
It's an
bonding
real-life
and communal experience.
Yeah,
you're not going to get that through VR.
VR,
but there might be certain people who is looking for that, as that's part of their job that they're trying to do, is just having an opportunity to gain access to certain games where they don't want to be hassling through all of the traffics and all the challenges of going and attending live events, but still get that similar experience, and they're okay with not having that communal experience. So I do see a difference in terms of the value proposition. Therefore, there could be a different markets for it. I don't think it would cannibalize your existing customers.
Yeah.
But again, those are things that will need to be continued studied and researched.
I would just say we don't want to return to COVID times. Remember when the stands were empty and they had the fake crowd noise? I think we never want to get to VR where nobody shows up in the stadium and you're faking noise. That was the worst.
I could see more of this as an international option where people,
I agree,
or out of market option where you just can't physically attend because you don't live in that market.
Yeah.
And this is a good ways to have that secondary experience of feeling like you're at the game without actually being at the game.
Right. That's right. Well, this is my last question. I know I've already taken too much of your time already, but let's just say, we sit down for Qualex Live in 2030, just supposing. What is one piece of technology you think will be standard that we may not have now in every NFL stadium that might seem like science fiction today? It may not be VR, but is there something that you see that might be standard in 2030? This is a tough question, but I always like to leave on the tough one.
I don't know if it's just a single technology. And if you were to just limit to within a stadium, I think there's going to be a lot of, I think there already is, like wearable devices in terms of whether it's your watch, but I think it's going to be more of very easy, accessible device that will just be used for everything, whether it's ticketing, whether it's your payments at the concessionaires, whether it's merchandising, whether it's your exclusive pass to sidelines, or whatever that may be. It's going to be very easy to manage access and therefore make it easy from an operational standpoint at the stadiums, and make it easy from addressability and analyzing that customer and how they've engaged during the game and all the different transactions that they've had. I think we'll come to that point where it's just going to be very easy for everyone on how that happens.
And
so,
interactions.
And it's not going to be just a single technology, because a lot of that for people to enable that, it's going to be different technology that comes together to make it happen. But we're already seeing that, a lot of times, with these concessionaires, we just walk in, walk out, and you don't have to, take out any of the things. With now at the security scanning, whether it's a facial or other means, make it easier from an access standpoint. So like pieces of these technologies coming together, I think it's about how's that all kind of come together to make it a really easy, frictionless experience for our fans when they visit the stadiums.
And also, I believe, too, a lot of people say, oh, it's better to stay at home and watch the game. I think what's going to happen by 2030 is going to the game, you'll get the exact same angles. You can watch multiple cameras, but you can see it in real life at the same time using your phone or whatever device you might, be able to.
I still think, like,
seeing the other fans, finding your family, your tribe.
Yeah, if I'm okay with missing a play because I was sitting at certain sections, because really, I don't know if that's the reason why I go to the game. Like, it's about the experience. It's about engaging with the folks. It's about standing up, cheering, and singing songs and dancing, and that's why I go there.
Jumbotron.
For that experience, not so that I could get a better angle and certain, like, to your point, if that's the case, then you're going to sit home and watch it, and there's a different, reason for it. So for live, and which is the reason why it doesn't matter how technology evolves and how good the TVs and LED gets really it provides a better viewer experience. It's still not going to beat the live entertainment experience that you're going to get in the stadium. That is not replaceable by technology, and therefore live entertainment, live sporting events is just not going to be going away anytime soon.
No, and anytime soon. I will remember, though, back in that, when I used to work for WSB, I was in radio for a while, just doing the engineer back at the station when the announcers were doing the work for Braves. I did Braves games. And back in those days, the Braves sucked so bad, they would have refrigerator night or, whatever. You just came to think. Those have gone away. Every team has its tribe. They are very busy. I don't think you're ever going to have refrigerator night to be able to get people to sit in the stands anymore.
But again, when you think about your past sports experiences, you're not thinking about certain angles or certain views. You're thinking about, oh man, my father took me to this game, and it was the first time I'd been to the stadium. Or, hey, when I had the opportunity to catch that foul ball, or hey, when I looked at certain, like, it's all about the experience, and it's never about like certain views or certain moments. I mean, I'm sure there are certain play moments that also make it special, but sometimes it's special not because of the play in itself, but that you were with someone, or that it was with people that you experienced with, that makes it special.
No, I get it. Especially with your family. It's something I always remember with my dad, of course. Yeah. Charlie, you've been amazing. Thank you so much. I told you I'd try to get you out of here early, but you know what? There's so many other questions I want to ask, but I want to do this again for the next Super Bowl. What is your prediction, by the way? Who do you think is going to win?
Oh, good question. We'll see.
You're the analytics guy.
Predictions out there for both of those are both great teams, and there are a lot of great colleagues that work in each of those teams. So wish all of them best.
That's a great lawyer answer there, Charlie. I like it. But
being very neutral.
Yeah. I will say this. So from I think we're all kind of, for people who are not Patriots fans, you're like, man, they should have stayed in the dungeon a little bit longer. Why are they already back? The Super Bowl, like, already? Anyway, they should have heard a little bit longer. But anyway, that's okay. Charlie, thank you so much. Enjoyed the Super Bowl, and thank you so much for kind of being a partner with Qualex. We love you to death, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me today. Really appreciate it. It was a fun conversation.
Thank you, brother. Thanks to Lexi and Charlie. You know, it's clear that whether you're building a brand, clothing line, or a franchise, the real game changer is how you bridge human performance with digital innovation. And so I would like to thank you for watching Qualex Live this February edition. And stay tuned for next month, where we're going to be talking about the future of financial services and banking. Think of this. Why would your favorite coffee app might technically be more stable than your own bank or a cryptocurrency? So that's what we're going to be talking about in the next episode. See you next time.
I like my circus. Must be 21 or older to enjoy, and as always, drip responsibly.
The future starts now.